Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock, and we'd like to start our first Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee this morning for 2024. It's so nice to see so many faces and staff, and of course, some of our residents in the audience. So thank you very much for being here. I would like to begin by acknowledging that this meeting is being held on unceded Anishinaabe-Algonquin territory. The people of the Anishinaabe-Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. I'd like to ask Kelly to do a roll call, please.
Councillor Brown?
Here.
Councillor Kitts?
Here.
Councillor Lugoff?
Present.
Vice Chair Kelly?
Present.
And Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you very much. This is a public meeting to consider the proposed comprehensive official plan and zoning bylaw amendments listed as items 40.2 to 4.7 on today's agenda. For the items just mentioned, only those who made oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In addition, the applicant may appeal the matter to the Ontario Land Tribunal if Council does not adopt an amendment within 90 days of receipt of the application for a zoning bylaw amendment and 120 for an official plan amendment. To submit written comments on these amendments prior to their consideration by Council on February 7, 2024, please email or call the committee or Council coordinator. Number 2, any declaration of interest? Seeing none, thank you. 3.1, ERAC minutes 9, Thursday, November 30, 2023. Is it carried?
Carried.
Thank you. 4.1, amendment to the master drainage plan for Western Development Lands Village of Richmond. We have a staff, Adam Brown, he's the manager development review rural is here. And any question? We have a report recommendation that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommended, don't worry. Council approve an amendment to the master drainage plan, Western Development Lands Village of Richmond to permit and term stormwater management solutions to facilitate timely approval for residential development as per document 1. Okay.
Carried.
Okay, Adam, you're good. 4.2, zoning bylaw amendment 1867 Donald B. Monroe Drive. We have our staff, Luke Teef. He's the planner on the file. We have no presentation, no delegation. We have the applicant online. It's Albert Benigna. And if there is no question or anything, and if we, Council, I want to approve that. Are you okay not to speak to the item, Albert? Oh, he's right there. Are you okay if we just go right to the recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Report recommendation that our Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 1867 Donald B. Monroe Drive as shown on document 1 to prohibit residential development as detailed in document 2. And also that Agricultural Affairs Committee approved the consultation details section for this report. Is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Albert. 4.3, zoning bylaw amendment part of 1980 Fallon Road West. And we have our staff, Sean Harrigan. He's the planner on the file. And we also have the applicant, Tess Gilchrist. It's online. If any question or any concern on that? If the committee is going to go with the recommendation, are you okay with us carrying it? Do you still want to speak to it, Tess?
No, just available for any questions, should there be any. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A recommendation that the Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 1980 Fallon Road West as shown in document 1 to prohibit residential development as detailed in document 2. And also that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approved the consultation detail section of this report. Is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you, Tess, for coming. And 4.4, zoning bylaw amendment 1961 Sarsfield Road in Navan. We also have our planner, Luke Thief is here. And we have an applicant, Ryan Bolton from Novotech is in the podium. We have any question or concern? And if we pass it, do you have to speak or we're good with it? Thank you very much, Ryan, for being here this morning. Report recommendation that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 1961 Sarsfield Road as shown in document 1 to prohibit residential development on this retained land and to permit the lot coverage of 7% for accessory structure on the severed lands as detailed in document 2, and the Agricultural Affairs Committee approved the consultation detail section of this report. Is that carried?
Carried. Carried.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. 4.5 zoning bylaw amendment 5812 Malkoff Road and Rideau Jog. We have a planner, Stephen Hookernan. He's also online if we have any question or concern. We go right to the recommendation then that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 5812 Malakoff Road as shown in document 1 to prohibit residential development on the retained land and to permit a lot coverage of 6% for accessory structures on the severed lands as detailed in document 2, and the Agricultural Affairs Committee approved the consultation details section of this report. Is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you. It's good. It's moving fast. It's very efficient at ERAC, so just so we know. You know, my colleague, they already got all their questions answered before the meeting, so thank you. We move to 4.6 zoning bylaw 5084 Cannon Smith Drive, and that's in West Carton. Also our planner, Luke Thies, he's online if you have any question or concern. Seeing none, we go to recommendation that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 5084 Cannon Smith Drive as shown in document 1 to prohibit residential development on retained lands as detailed in document 2. And the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee approved the consultation detail section of this report. Is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you. 4.7 zoning bylaw amendment 5497 Manatic, Maine, and that's in Rideau Jog. Councilor Brown is here. And we have Sarah McCormick. She's our planner on the file. And we also have the applicant, Paul Robinson from Robinson Consultant. Thank you. He's here for question. Do we have any concern or question? Seeing none, Ms. Paul, if it's okay, we just go ahead to recommendation. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here this morning with us. That the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 5497 Manatic Main Street as shown in document 1 to permit a low-rise apartment as additional use on the property and to amend the performance standards related to water setback from yard setback and height as detailed in document 2. And number 2 is that the Agricultural Affairs Committee approve the consultation detail section of this report be included as part of the brief explanation in the summary of written and oral public submissions to be prepared by the Office of the City Clerk and submitted to Council in a report titled Summary of Oral and Written Public Submissions for items subject to the Planning Act. Explanation requirement at the City Council meeting of February 7, 2024, subject to submission received between the publication of this report and the time of Council decision. Is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 4.8 Omnibus Amendment Q1 2024, and this is a citywide, and it was submitted yesterday to the Planning Committee yesterday. We have a staff, Jacob Saltiel here. If we have a question, do you have any question or concern? I know most of you sat at the Planning Committee. No? There is no presentation, no delegation. Report recommendation that the Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend council approve amendment to zoning bylaw number 2008-250 as shown in document 1 and detailed in document 2. And 2 is that the Agricultural Affairs Committee approve the consultation details section of this report. Is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. 4.9. Oh, it's the fun. Rural Community Building Grant Program, and we have we have an application in Osgood Ward 20, and we have our staff Ryan Thompson here, and welcome back, Ryan. Nice to see you back. We have no presentation, no delegation, no correspondence. Any question or concern?
All good and all's good, Chair.
I'm glad to hear that. And the report recommendation that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approve the recommendation on Rural Community Building Grant Program application as detailed in document 1. Is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Welcome back. And 5, we have just Office of the Clerk status update, Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee inquiry and motions for the period ending January 19, 2024. That's the citywide. And the recommendation that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee receive this report for information. Is that received?
Received.
Thank you. We have no in-camera item. 7.1. 2024 Rural Affairs Work Plan. And that's just an information. We have number 8, we have no open mic session. And number 9, motion which notice has been previously given. That will be me. Which is a ditch infill notification for 4644 and 4634 and 4652 Anderson Road. And we already said, we already read where the as in the notice of motion in the last meeting. If you have a question, we have our staff with us, Kevin Lamer. Thank you very much, you and your team. Steve Clark for working with us, very diligent on this file. And I'm gonna read the word, therefore be it resolved that the ditch infill at 4633, 4634, and 4652 Anderson Road will be exempt from the revised ditch alteration policy carried by council on 6 July 2022, the alteration remaining in place and monitor for future flooding concern, and therefore be it resolved that should flooding concern arise in the future, the city will seek corrective action in accordance with the use of care of roads bylaw and or site alteration bylaw with respect to the ditch infill exemptions at 4633, 4634, and 4652 Anderson Road will be reassessed. Any question? And is that carried?
Carried.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and for the team for working very hard on that one. Next, we have another one, I guess, here. 9.2, we have motion for Mr. Councilor Brown, I think. And this is manure drag line in rural Ottawa. You want to go ahead?
Thank you very much, Chair. And with the will of the committee, I'll just read the therefore be it resolved clauses. Therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to investigate the feasibility of the use of highway right-of-ways and culverts to accommodate manure drag lines and report back to committee in 2024. And be it further resolved that the investigation will report back on traffic safety, roadway, highway impacts and maintenance, surface water drainage impacts, installation of additional infrastructure, and a permitting system.
Thank you very much, Councilor Brown. Any question or any concern? Seeing none, we appreciate all the work you've done on that. Manure pipe.
It's an important thing in the rural area, Chair.
It's very important. So is that motion carried?
Carried.
Yes, sir.
10. We have notice of motion for consideration. If there is any, I think there is none. Thank you. 11, there is no inquiry. Thank you. And we have other business. We have motion to add, and we need the exception of the rules, I guess. Can we have that carried for, so Councilor Brown can introduce his motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I don't know if I'm gonna accept that. It's okay. Carried then. Okay, Councilor Brown, go ahead. Read
Thank-
your motion.
Thank you very much, Chair and colleagues. Whereas according to the Ottawa Fatal Collision Review Committee 2020 Annual Report, rural Ottawa has the highest percentage of fatal collisions, representing over 1/3, 37%, of all fatal collisions and only 9% of all reportable collisions in the city of Ottawa. And whereas the Ottawa Fatal Collision Review Committee 2020 Annual Report identifies a need to have increased enforcement resources to reduce speed collisions in rural areas of the city of Ottawa. And whereas, based on the pilot study conducted by the City of Ottawa in 2020 to 2021, automated speed enforcement has been shown to be an effective tool at reducing speed in school zones. And whereas, based on the result of the ASE pilot, Council approved the implementation of 15 to 25 new ASE cameras annually in front of schools and parks that meet the data-driven selection process. And whereas Council directed staff to implement ASE at 4 locations outside of school/park areas and along high-volume, high-speed roadways and report back to Council on the effectiveness of ASE at these types of locations. And whereas of the 60 ASE locations that are existing, pending, or currently proposed by the end of 2024, only 8 are in the city's rural area. And whereas on May 11th, 2016, City Council approved a pilot of ASE, which included the requirement for ward councillor concurrence for locations to be included in the pilot. Therefore, be it resolved that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend that Council direct staff to undertake a pilot study to ascertain the efficacy of ASE cameras as a road safety improvement in Ottawa's rural villages. And be it further resolved that the baseline data be collected for site selection in 2024. And be it further resolved that following the collection of baseline data, staff be directed to return to ARAC with recommended pilot sites to be included in the 2025 ASE implementation list. And be it further resolved that, as with the original pilot study, the concurrence of the ward councillor be a requirement for ASE sites selected for this pilot study. And be it further resolved that staff report back to the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee on the results of this pilot study as soon as practicable. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. And any have a question or comment on the motion? And we appreciate the work you've done. Can I please ask you to repeat the motion? Read it again. I'm just joking. Is that motion carried?
Carried.
Thank you. And 13 is adjournment at 10:17. And our next meeting, it's Thursday, March 7, 2024. So thank you all for being here and we appreciate your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Meeting adjourned.